feeling much better today. I was feeling crummy yesterday.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. It might have been psychosomatic. But it has gotten colder.
Okay.
And normally when it gets colder, I go through I feel sick kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it just so happens that recently Jennifer and I went to like a it's like farm and home store or something like a kind of a very red statey kind of place.
Okay.
And I was like halfway through shopping there and I didn't have my mask on. And I was like, this is probably fine. This is probably fine. I'm vaccinated. All that. But I'm gonna put it on anyway. And the reason I did it is because I saw somebody else who had theirs on. And
in a
we've talked
farm
about
and home store in the Midwest,
Yes.
somebody was wearing a mask.
Now, this is an interesting thing. It was an African American person. And I feel as though, and this is purely anecdotal, and keep in mind, I may also be racist.
Oh, I'll keep that in mind.
Yes. May also be. I am a white man brought up in the United States of America in the Midwest. I am constantly going head to head with racism inside my body.
Constantly having to check
taught.
yourself.
Yes, exactly. So, but I have noticed in general, black folks around here wear their masks more than the white folks do.
Okay.
And I feel as though it has more to do with them being practical about it.
Well, that's
than anything else.
Culturally, African Americans were hesitant to get the vaccine. Just because there's a long history of the United States government lying to them.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if those two things are connected. If these people of color are wearing masks in a public place because they are not vaccinated. They're still trying to be safe.
I will say this. Again, this is anecdotal evidence. This is not, I'm not doing a study on this, whatever. But
you don't need a
around
peer review
here,
for your final
and granted,
paper.
This is, informal.
Yeah.
But folks that I know who would identify as black were kind of on the forefront of making sure that everybody else had their vaccinations in order and things like that.
Okay. I mean, I don't know anybody. I don't know any non-white people personally who refuse to get the vaccine. Now I need to finish this sentence, Paul.
Who refused to get the vaccine?
Yes, I need to finish that sentence.
I thought you were gonna stop, and I'm like, Ben, I know that's not true. I don't know what you're doing.
So to continue on, what might have been a super
I apologize.
Awkward, yes. Who
for those of you who aren't watching the stream, which is everybody, Ben just saw the little look on my face. It was like, okay,
yeah,
Goody's gonna no, Paul, please.
Just to complete that thought, I don't know anybody personally who didn't get the vaccine because of this long-standing issue of the government lying to people of color and giving and experimenting on them.
I will say this: I don't know anyone. Well, actually, I do. I have a sister who didn't get it, but other than that, I don't know anyone who didn't. Well, no, that's not true. I don't know anyone in this area who I am friends with. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying
didn't get it.
I know
who
people
didn't get it.
I know people who didn't get the vaccine. Granted, I've not taken a census of why people haven't gotten the vaccine. Except for like certain family members, I know exactly why they didn't get the vaccine because they posted about it on Facebook. But I don't know anybody who didn't get it, like I said before, who didn't get it because of suspicion towards the government.
So yeah, what I'll say is that even people I know who were like kind of like my parents, George and Mary, uh, weren't necessarily thrilled with the idea of getting the vaccine, but they did, you know.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm just dealing with grumpy Gus's who still got it anyway.
Right.
I don't have anybody that I know that didn't get it.
Speaking of vaccines, I got my my bivalent booster on Saturday.
What is that?
That is the latest Omicron variant. It contains
Ah,
two. That's it. So all the other vaccines were monovalent. This is a bivalent, and I may be mispronouncing it. Maybe it's pronounced bivalent, but it's mono and monovalent, bivalent, and it contains two different Omicron variants in the vaccine.
ah. I should get my booster and my flu shot whenever those are available. That's coming up, I think.
They're available. I got both mine
Oh,
like in the last week.
Ben,
Paul.
gonna guess the news.
Oh, fun.
I went looking for something online
Uh-oh.
and I couldn't find it. But I found something else that might explain why I couldn't find it. What was I looking for and what did I find instead?
You were looking for something and you couldn't find it, but you found
That's
something
right.
else that explained why you couldn't find it.
That's right.
So, is this a consumer product?
No.
So it's not a consumer, so it's nothing you can buy.
That's right. Do you want me to give you a hint?
I think I need a hint here.
Okay. There was something that we were talking about. I was talking about getting it's almost time to get my flu shot, right?
Yeah.
And that was what reminded me. Because I was thinking of what the days were in the calendar and whether or not it was time for me to get my flu shot yet. Now I'm doing something, and when you listen back to this, you don't listen back to this, but anyone who's listening to this, I put certain inflections on certain words that may have been an extra hint to Ben
Oh.
if he was paying attention,
I actually.
and if I do the inflections right, because famously, I am not good with modulating how I speak sometimes,
Right.
and also not good with accents. But that's another story.
Hmm.
It doesn't have anything to do with accents, by the way.
So it's not a consumer product, but it's a service that you were looking for, some sort of personal service.
I guess you could say personal service. It's not an object. It's a thing that happens.
Something healthcare related.
I wouldn't say even healthcare related, although people sometimes blame ailments on it.
Sometimes blame ailments on it. You were.
In fact, comedian Paul F. Tompkins, has a big bit about people blaming their problems
on daylight savings time.
So I was looking for when daylight savings time started, couldn't find it. I found something else instead.
But they've gotten rid of it.
Close.
You were looking because you were looking at something in a state that doesn't, or in a place that doesn't have daylight savings time.
What I found so normally when you type in when is daylight savings time, Google pops up a thing saying
right
daylight
there.
savings time is,
Yeah.
on this date. Didn't find it. I just found all these weird articles about Florida is still going to have daylight savings time. I'm like, what is going on? So it turns out, Ben,
Yes.
that the Senate has passed something that would eliminate the clock changing. But at least at the time that I looked at it, House of Representatives hadn't voted on it yet. Biden had not said one way or the other what he would be doing.
Okay. I think I remember hearing this. I think I remember hearing that that Congress was addressing the issue because every year there is a larger and larger call to get rid of daylight savings time. because it is no longer relevant to human agricultural society.
Yes. So, yeah, if it does happen, it'll probably happen on November 1st that the
So
clocks will change.
now here's my question. Do we stick with daylight savings time or saving time? I don't know if saving is plural.
What would
Or
happen
do we stick
is
with standard time?
we wouldn't change this
We'd
time.
stick
So
where we are right now.
Yeah. And I think it's it has the word daylight in the title or whatever, or light or whatever. So yeah, the idea is that daylight savings times will just be the regular time.
So instead, so now it's Central Standard Time or Central Daylight Time, like Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daylight Time. PST versus PDT. It's just always going to be Pacific Daylight Time.
Do you know what I used to do as a tech writer?
What did you do as a tech writer?
I would just put Central Time.
Yeah.
And I didn't do standard or daylight. And people were like, well, which is it? And I was like, depends.
Doesn't matter. Well, see,
What's
that's what I
the
would
date?
do because I wouldn't know. I would just write, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Right, exactly.
Because I did not want to get it wrong. Because ultimately, if I tried to figure out which one it was, I would get it wrong.
And that's what I would say. Somebody wouldn't accept a document I wrote one time because they said, you need to put it in either this and this. I'm like, okay, you tell me how I'm going to know what date a person is reading this document.
Right. But, I mean, I guess the
And then I did this. You can't see it. But people watching the stream know I'm nodding. I've got my eyebrows up. I'm making a sort of a De Niro face, kind of. Sort of, maybe. I don't know. Pull a face, Ben. That's a British term that we don't use here in the US.
Yeah.
He was pulling faces.
There's a lot of British terms that we don't use in the US for good. We fought a war over that, Paul.
Wait, did we though?
Somebody did. I didn't.
Yeah, it is funny. I've mentioned this before, but I have some coworkers, or had some coworkers from, I don't talk about my current job, but I've had coworkers in the past from India who have British sayings that they use that people from Britain don't use anymore. They were popular at the time.
Yeah.
And they
colonizer phrases.
Yeah, exactly. And they stayed in the language.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
That makes sense. I've not experienced that, but that totally makes sense.
The one when I was working at Amazon that people used a lot was do the needful.
Do the needful.
Do the needful. Which basically just means, hey, there's some stuff that you got to do. Can you do it, please?
Yeah.
It's a very polite way of saying, come on, man. Basically.
Yeah.
So Ben.
Yes, Paul.
How are things in Seattle these days?
Not bad. There's I'm as you can see, I'm doing the show from my bunker again.
Yeah, I like it.
Doing it from here until the heat gets off me and I can go back to the theater.
Haha.
But
yes.
Yeah, actually, yesterday, I was at work kind of late yesterday, and at work being Annex, and McCandless showed up, and we were chatting, and there was a rehearsal in the theater, and Brendan Healy came back and chatted with us while there was rehearsal sounds on stage, and it almost felt a little normal, just because there was, like, human activity in the building.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm used to. Being when I'm in Annex, that there's always something kind of going on. Hey, speaking about McCandless, Stephen McCandless, friend of the show, Stephen McCandless, only real listener, although drunk listens sometimes, and my friend Scott Zlanoski listens sometimes. Hello, Scott, if you're listening. And sorry I said your full name. It'll be fine. No one's gonna. But Stephen made fun of me for saying, hey, is anybody listening? And he like wrote, in fact, here, I'm gonna break with protocol. I'm gonna pull up and see the thing that this is a text that I got from your friend of mine, Stephen McCandless. Uh, Shifts live podcast back to Thursday unannounced, starts late, and then in quotes, is anyone watching? The answer is no.
Yeah, the
Of
answer
course.
is no. He did text me as well, and he's like, haven't heard from Steven, not even acknowledging you switched back to Thursday. It's like your
Yeah,
podcast is trying to throw off kidnappers.
exactly. I will say this, Ben, and it's absolutely true. I will change up my daily routine specifically because if anybody's trying to kidnap me, they're not going to know what I do.
I also heard, I can't remember when I heard this, but it's just one of those tidbits that kind of stuck in my brain, where some sort of like experts claimed that if you do that specifically, if you like take different routes to work in the morning, or if you shake up your routine and like do the same task but differently, it keeps your brain active, and
Yeah,
it staves off cognitive decline in your older age.
I believe it. The one other thing I will note, of course, because it's important, I do that, right? Change up my daily routine so people won't kidnap me. And then, as a friend of the show, a friend of GudeLaurance, Zach Lewis would tell you, then follow some stranger to their car because they say they have energy drinks.
What?
You can't. Yeah. Did you have you never heard this story?
I have not. Well, maybe I have. I mean, Paul, this is the
So
episode 344 of the GudeLaurance
true.
podcast, and
And
year
I don't
20
know.
of a progressive
Did
performance art piece.
Was Zach ever a guest on the show?
Zach has never been the guest on the show.
He should. We should have him on at least once.
Yeah.
But he was at Costco with me, and there was a guy, a foreign national, had an accent of some kind, and was speaking to someone in another language on his phone at one point, who came up to me in Costco, and he saw that I was buying energy drinks, and he said, "You like energy drinks?" I said, "Yes," and he said, "I have some energy drinks back in my car. You should come and try it." And I was like, "Oh, like a product marketing thing, like how I like them." He's like, "Sure," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And
Yeah.
so I'm following him, and then Zach Lewis comes up, puts his hand on my shoulder, says, "Hey, Paul, hold on for just a second. What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, he had some energy drinks." He's like, "Okay, we're gonna go back to work now."
Yeah.
And in the car, he was talking to me. He's like, "What was that about?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just thought, he had energy." He's like, "Do you realize that might have been the last time that I saw you?" And I'm like, "I don't think that that's true. I think he probably did have energy drinks." And he was like, I can't. I was overly trusting.
Zach's a
During
good
that
person to have looking out for you.
Yeah. We were talking about this. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to talk about Zach when he's not on the show or anything, but we were talking about this. He was a child actor at one point. Do you remember talking to him about that?
It may have come up at some point.
Yeah. So interesting. Just a small little tidbit.
The
About
surprising part was he was in his late 20s
Yeah.
when he was a child actor.
It
That's
was
how
a
good
very
he
strange.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he did some commercials or something, and yeah. But it's because of him that whenever I take if you see selfies of me, right?
Yeah.
I'm always like this. I'm always have my head tilted. I'm always looking out of my left eye.
Is that your good side?
He told me that's my good side. I don't know if it's true or not, but I do it automatically now. Yeah, this is one thing that is true. I am, how you have a dominant eye?
Yes.
They talk about that. My left eye is my dominant eye.
Okay.
Dominant eye.
I have a dominant eye, but only because I can see better out of that one.
Well, I think that's what it means, right?
Yeah, I mean, but considerably. Like you should see.
Oh,
I can't really show you the thickness difference on my glasses here, but if I could show you the shadow of my glasses one lens is darker than the other one in the shadow. That's how much
Interesting.
thicker it is. My left eye is trash.
Yeah. Speaking of left eye, don't go chasing waterfalls, Ben.
R.I.P.
Um,
Lisa Lopez.
wait, what?
Oh, she passed away years ago.
Lisa Left Eye Lopez
Yeah.
passed away years ago. I I I think I knew that. She was very into helping stave off the AIDS crisis. Uh, in fact, "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls" has a thing about AIDS in it. It's one of the stories that's in the thing. I also apparently burnt somebody's house down.
I was trying to remember some sort of thing that she was involved with. I couldn't remember what it was.
So anyway,
What was okay? So I remembered her name. What was that group? What was
TLC?
Name? TLC.
Yeah.
All I could think of was Belle Biv DeVoe, but those guys are completely different.
It has it that song has one of my favorite misheard lyrics. Like, there's a bathroom on the right.
Yeah.
You know.
Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
"Don't Go Jason Waterfalls" is my favorite. It's really good. It's really good. Of course, the one that
some guy named Jason Waterfalls at a party, and he's going around saying goodbye,
trying to keep him from going. Mine is, of course, Pearl Jam. She lies and says she's in love with him. Can't find a buttermint. It works if you sing it in the Eddie Vedder voice.
There's another Pearl Jam one that a friend of mine misheard that I thought was really funny. Got my hand in my pocket so it doesn't escape.
That's good. That's good. I don't care what it's supposed to be. That's better than
got
whatever
my hand in my pocket so determined discreet is the actual lyric.
Yeah, I think so.
Got my hand in my pocket so it doesn't escape. Once upon a time.
There's a song that I'm really into now. Again, it happens. I might have even mentioned it the last pod. You know, I get stuck on songs, and one of the things that is really cool is that I have now run into the sampling app. It's called I think it might be called Who Sampled. I think it might just be called Who Sampled. I'm not looking up the internet. I'm just looking on my phone to see. Yeah, Who Sampled.
Who Sampled?
Who Sampled is great. And they're the sponsor of today's show, but they aren't.
To get 10% off your copy of Who Sampled, put in GudeLaurance as an access code.
It's gonna break the URL and won't work, but still try it.
Yeah.
So Who Sampled is an app that hey, by the way, did you ever find out from your friend if their music artificial intelligence thing is happening?
I forgot to do that.
Okay. All right. Because this is similar. There's a reason for it.
We're talking about Robotnik, I believe.
Yeah. It's about the DNA of your music. It says, "Who sampled the DNA of your music?" Where you look up a song, it will tell you what samples are in the song and from what artist, anyone that's covered the song, and if the song has ever been remixed by anyone. And it's great. So you can get down a rabbit hole very easily.
Very informative. I saw a video recently of somebody who took apart Fatboy Slim's Rockefeller Skank and played all the samples from all the songs that Fatboy Slim sampled, and like played them in context of the original song, and then put them into the mixed them into Rockefeller Skank. It was really interesting, actually.
I would be interested in seeing that. There's something that's the Hood Internet is doing sort of the opposite. They take a year and they make a song out of songs that were popular in that year.
Okay.
It's pretty great. They're like, 50 songs in 5 minutes from 1973 or whatever. But The Windmills of Your Mind, Ben. That song. Uh
The windmills
Made
of your
famous
mind.
from the Thomas Crown Affair, the original Thomas Crown Affair, which I believe your you know Steve McQueen as Thomas Crown. There's another one that was made with Pierce
Pierce
Brosnan.
Brosnan, yeah.
But yeah,
I've
Steve McQueen,
not seen either
Thomas
of them.
Thomas Crown Affair. He's a jewel thief, I believe. But anyway, The Windmills of Your Mind is the song. You might be familiar with it under its French name, The Windmills of Your Heart. Might be The Windmills of My Heart. But, you know, because as you know, in French, the heart is what oftentimes knows things or believes things. They still talk about it in that context.
Moulin
but we do too.
de Coeur.
Moulin de la Cour. Oui, yes, that is. I believe that is correct.
Moulin de la Coeur.
The lyrics are a little bit different, of course. Windmills of Your Mind is more about it's sort of crazy making, but is the sound of distant drumming just the fingers of your hand? Is one of them, which is great. The reason I mention it is that there's another song that has a great set of lyrics in a specific part that I didn't know, and I've been listening to the song for many, many years. This is, of course, Losing My Religion by REM, which, by the way, and this is crazy, seek out, if you will, the cover of the song done by Hootie and the Blowfish. It's actually good.
Hootie
Anyway.
covered REM?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It's recent. I
Hootie
believe.
is still a thing?
I think they maybe just came together to cover Losing My Religion by REM. Anyway. Oh, life, it's bigger, bigger than you, and you are not me. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the length.
Things that I could tell you.
The lengths that I will go to. The distance in your eyes. Those two sentences are juxtaposed. And so all of a sudden we have this like the lengths that the person will go to equal or exceed the distance in their eyes from the person. It's all about that sentence is all about the person connecting to the other person. There's a rift in their relationship, and the person is saying that they're desperate and they're gonna, you know, losing my religion is a phrase in Southern English that I didn't know about, but it's basically, you know, you're desperate, you're having a horrible, like the worst time, basically. And there's something about the juxtaposition of the lengths that I will go to, the distance here, that's great, because I had them as being disjointed, right?
Now, where are they switched?
No, not switched, juxtaposed. Like they're next to each other. They're
Oh, I thought you meant like in the original song that they were lengths that I would go to.
Oh, and I might be using the word juxtaposed wrong. That might be the problem.
No, the juxtaposition does not mean switch. It just means two things in relation to each other.
Yeah, they're in relation to each other. So the lyrics are right next to each other.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But you know, I was hearing them. This is one of those things of getting metaphors, you know, an uphill battle for me sometimes. But I would have them, okay, so the lengths that I will go to is over here. He's talking about, you know, what he's willing to do for something over here. And then the distance in your eyes is, again, a separate thing over here. He'll go to great lengths to do stuff. This person isn't interested. But the fact that they're both talking about measurement of space has a connection between those two lines that I didn't get until, again, like I said, maybe a week ago.
Both sort of like metaphorical measurements.
Exactly. I'm like, this is brilliant. So, well, okay, Michael Stipe, I suppose you're a good songwriter. I don't know what I'm doing, Ben.
There's a podcast called Song Exploder, which examines some of this, so you know of it. Yeah. Arian did one. It wasn't Losing My Religion, but Michael Stipe talked about his process of like writing and creating an REM song that I listened to years ago on a road trip. But yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, Song Exploder is really good, especially like again talking about the Who Sampled thing, where you will get it's an electronic artist might be really open about something.
Yeah,
like, well, this is where I found this sample, and I tried for years to get something to fit it, and then one day my friend emailed me an MP3 of them falling down some stairs, and I was like, that's the sound. And
or one day my screensaver got buggy and all it showed me was a picture of me and a picture of my apartment. So my friend just said, "This is me, this is my house. This is me, this is my house."
Exactly. AWOL Nation, are you familiar with AWOL Nation? Had a song.
This Kid's All Right's the only song I know.
Sail was a famous one. But AWOL Nation has a new album that came out, and the reason I found it is because I'm on this covers kick. I like covers. I like covers of things. I like covers that people are doing covers of. And of course, your friend and mine, Sean Nelson, who has given so much to the theater community as far as I believe volunteering his time as a musician for 1440. Maybe they get paid, I don't know, but
they get as much beer as they want if you drink beer.
Yeah, but so that so the song that he and the rest of Harvey Danger made, Flagpole Sitta, has several different cover versions out, but there was one that I heard that wasn't like the other. Like a lot of people did, like, hardcore version, ska version, like, but there's this other one that's like dreamy and light and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, this is done by the AWOL Nation guy, and he's got an album of total covers, like all these different covers, and it's really great. You've got him and Beck doing Manhattan Transfer's what is it? I'm the Eye in the Sky, I think it's called. Okay, yeah. But anyway, one of the things on that album, one of the songs on that album, Ben, Taylor Hanson of the band Hanson doing Madonna's Material Girl, completely unironically, just full steam ahead.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Did he change any of the
Nope.
gender speak in the song?
Nope.
Right on.
It's just straight up Material Girl, the song, and it's like I said, wonderful, worth all of it. They also do The Waiting Room by Fugazi, and they do a good version of it. They don't try, the one out that, and this is something that somebody was interviewing about and said, the one song that doesn't sound a lot like the other songs is Flagpole Sitta. Everything else, you're really tapping into the original sound. And he said, yeah, the way that came about is the singer on it, Elohim, sent me an MP3 of her singing that song a cappella, and I liked it so much I built the entire song around it. What you're hearing with her vocals is that original MP3.
Nice.
And it's a different way to make songs. I don't do it that way, he said, which I thought was really cool. So yeah. Everyone's process is different. Let's talk a little bit, Ben,
about process.
Good segue. About the GudeLaurance process.
The GudeLaurance process.
Now, generally, this is great. What episode is this?
344.
344 of a podcast that was supposed to be about us and how we do performance art. I think that this is the
Also,
deepest that we're
like a
ever
promotion,
really.
like also promotion for our performances at Spin the Bottle.
Wait, was that ever what we're?
Originally, that would have. I mean, that could because we did episode 1 before you knew you were moving.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good point. But anyway, the main thing is that we would normally we what we do is not improv. There are things that are planned, but
Yeah, there's an element
unlike
of improvisation, but it's not like, hey, give me a city.
right, what I would say is unlike other types of theater, most of which are rehearsed to death until everybody knows what they're doing and they're ready. I want to say that we approached our pieces with a element of chaos to them that most of the time we didn't anticipate how it was going to go.
Yeah, we had a destination.
Right.
And sometimes we didn't know how we. So there are two things I think about this. In two ways I think about this. Some of the pieces had a destination where we didn't know how we were gonna get there, and some pieces had a a journey, and we didn't know where we were going to end up.
Right. I think that's a really good way to look at it. And one of the things that I think, like Stephen King, when he talks about writing, it talks about practicality and how being a newspaper writer helped him remove excess words and things like that,
Yeah.
whatever. The fact that we were specifically doing our performance art in venues where we didn't have a lot of tech time, but people needed to have cues to know when lights were going to go out and all that, meant that lots of times, like you say, that ending, we both did some sketch stuff before we got together and did our stuff. So the blackout
Yeah.
became like the thing. Like what we would normally do a lot of times is say to the person in the booth, I don't know when this is going to stop, but when I say blank, blackout.
Yeah.
Other times,
sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Yeah. I will say that I could count on one hand probably the times when the people in the booth didn't do something that they were supposed to.
Well, I know of one instance where the person in the booth didn't do what we had asked, and they had specifically not done it on purpose to mess with us.
Wait, when was that? I'm very interested.
This was a long time ago. I don't remember the performance. I think it was something that had to do with an element of time. So we didn't say, when I say this or when I do this, bring the lights out. It's after 30 seconds, bring the lights out.
Wait a second.
And 30 seconds ended up being like 2 minutes.
But I think in that instance, messing with us actually turned out okay.
Well, see, and here's the other thing. Like I said, I don't remember what piece it was. So I don't remember how it ended. I just remember going up to this person, and I'm not calling them out because I don't want to be a jerk, but right. I remember saying that was a lot longer than 30 seconds, and they were like, yes, it was. Like, sort of like, yeah, they had put themselves
into the piece.
Into the piece. They had made themselves part of the performance.
Yeah. And that's
I was a little pissed off at the time. I mean, I'm cool about it now, but like I remember being a little not upset.
All of a sudden Ben leaves the screen. Damn it. But other times, I will say this, we occasionally would get lazy. and video pieces were great because we wouldn't have to do something at all, but sometimes we would pre-record our entire thing and just say hit play.
Yeah.
We're gonna come out and do some stuff, and then we'll be done when the audio runs out.
Yep.
Not a lot, but there is some stuff. I think there's some things that laziness really paid off, like the Melt Banana song that became just our go-to fight song thing. A lot of that was we were looking for something that had the right sound to it, and we couldn't.
Sort of like right energy.
Yeah, and then I said, well, what about this? And you're like, yeah, okay, we'll try it. And it just really, the chaos of it really worked.
There, yeah, a lot of spontaneity and a lot of chaos. And sometimes I think that might have come off as sloppy and unrehearsed, which it was, but that was like sort of by design.
Yeah, because the idea for I think the way that I would characterize it is you wanted that tension of not knowing whether or not the thing would crash.
Yeah.
Like that balance and all that. And I still remember this. After we've been doing it for a while, walking into a space and like during tech and laughing out loud because you and I were very seriously looking, okay, so that's going to be about this big. If we throw it hard enough, it's going to go there. Like we were very professional about you throwing something at me or whatever, and really seriously like talking about, okay, there might be some ricochet for the audience. How do we keep that from happening? And that sort of thing. Whereas when we first started, we just had to clean up after ourselves.
I do
a lot.
I will say that doing that process for however long we did it, like 13 years or something like that, took away that part of me that has the actor's nightmare where you're on stage and you're unrehearsed and that's a nightmare. That was every first Friday for me. It's not a nightmare.
I told you about this, and it happened again a couple of nights ago, where I just have dreams, and normally they're music. Normally we're playing music.
Yeah,
that's an important part. Where you and I are going on stage, and you know what you're doing, and I'm messing up, and I'm like, and in my dreams, Ben is mad at me, and it's the worst.
You've mentioned
because
dream before.
People need to know this. I say this all the time. You, Ben Lawrence, I cannot think of a time, no matter how like crazy it was at the end, where I'm like, hey, just really quick, instead of blah 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 blah, I'm gonna be nude instead. It's gonna work out. Or I look at you and take my shirt off and go, all right, here we go. That kind of thing.
That's one of that is a one of the examples I say to people when they ask about what was doing GudeLaurance like. I'm like, well, every once in a while we would just be standing off stage getting introduced, and Paul would turn around and say, I'm gonna do something, just go with me. And then he disrupts, and he takes his pants off and walks out on stage.
Exactly. I will say that I don't get stage fright as much anymore because of our time there. There was something about, one of the things that we would do a lot is not respect Bruce's and then other people's times when they're introducing us. Like, they normally, what can I say about this next act? And sometimes we would just come out right at that time and start setting up behind them. Or set up and stand right next to, that kind of thing. Which was also really fun.
The sort of GudeLaurance actor's nightmare dreams that I like have, not on a consistent basis, but is recurring, is we're performing at a Spin the Bottle. There's hardly anybody in the audience, and it is not going well, and we are trying really, really hard to be entertaining.
Yeah, one of the nice things, and I can think of a couple of nights like this, one of the nice things about being out there with you, rather than being like a stand-up comic or whatever, is that we could be doing really like audience just not into it, not getting. That's one of the nice things about performance art is sometimes you're like, well, this is still art.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. That's fine. But just the looking at each other and going, well,
Yep.
This is
It may be terrible, but it's going to be over in 10 seconds.
and there's a friendly face there, and you're like, yep. And you know that it doesn't matter who, people often say that I'm doing the thing and all the people are laughing, but there's one guy who's frowning in the audience, and that's what I focus on. With me doing GudeLaurance, even if nobody else likes it, I can look over at Ben, and as long as Ben's not mad at me, I think that's why my nightmares are Ben's mad at me. As long as Ben's still all right, we'll get out of this, and we'll talk about it afterwards, and we'll be like, yeah, what?
And everybody in the audience is going to forget it by the next morning.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I was thinking about the mystery box the other day.
Oh, I loved the mystery box.
And and just how, the mystery box is an interesting one because it somewhat relies on people being regulars, because then they know kind of our aesthetic and, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And I was thinking about, but somebody who's never seen this before, it's going to be fine also.
Yeah. And
one of the other things is I still, Troy's recording of Slap That Ass is still on YouTube, still out there. And one of the things that I like about that, this is before GudeLaurance, but this is the thing. My performances before GudeLaurance are still pretty much GudeLaurance stuff. I mean, I would run stuff by you. I'm like, Ben, I'm thinking about doing this. What are you thinking? You're like, yeah, okay, sense. Yeah. All right, whatever.
All right, whatever.
I set up that thing, and this is the confession. If you can find it here, people. Yes, I set up that thing where I was like, okay, we're gonna pretend like I'm this hilarious stand-up comic that you guys love seeing. My catchphrase is slap that ass. Whenever I say slap that ass, I want everyone to shout slap that ass. And if you didn't know that speech happened ahead of time, you'd think that I was a popular guy. But at the time that was recorded, GudeLaurance didn't exist. No one knew who I was. But it plays like how we eventually achieve stuff.
Well, and that's
so
also...
what I'm saying is, doesn't matter to be good.
Well,
I think so.
I think also with the Spin the Bottle audience, you had a very willing and energetic audience to go along with
Absolutely.
You.
Yeah.
So, like, unlike, say, if somebody went and did that at, like, an open mic night at a bar, they were not going to get that response.
Yeah. Instead of yelling slap that ass, someone yells get off the stage, and the rest is history.
Throws their beer on me.
I've never been to, and I don't think I ever will at this point, never been to a comedy open mic night. It's true.
As a viewer?
As a viewer or as a participant. Yeah. I don't like the culture as much around these parts. In the 90s, which is when I would have been doing it. Because it's a bar. It's a bar, and I'm not a bar guy.
Yeah. I think I went to one open mic at a bar once, but yeah, I'm not a stand-up, so I would never do it.
Of course, improv. I have done improv at a bar before. It's not the greatest, and I will bring it up every single time until I finally meet them, and then I will talk to them about it. It'll be full circle. The Flaming Lips threw a smoke bomb at me.
What?
Well, not at me specifically, at my improv troupe.
So what's that story? We got 10 minutes left.
We were opening for them at an outdoor festival.
You hope your improv troupe opened for Flaming Lips?
Yeah, it wasn't a great time. And they threw a smoke bomb. As I still remember the guy with the curly hair, the real lead singer guy, the main whatever his
I
name
have
is.
no idea.
Anyway, he's great. He's great. Flaming Lips. This is me talking about this. Flaming Lips are great. We were not having a good show. No one wanted to see improv outdoors at a music festival.
Where they probably couldn't even hear you anyway.
Yep. That's right. It was too bad. Also, a guy from the audience came up and said he called us the C word. And we put that on a T-shirt, I believe, because he phrased it. I'm from England, and you're all just a bunch of boobs.
Right.
And I think we put that on a T-shirt at one
Like
point.
the whole quote, "I'm from England, and you all
Yes.
are a bunch of."
Yeah.
And you wrote out the word.
Yeah. I think there was an asterisk.
Okay.
For the vowel. Although I don't know if there's any other word that could be. Let me think about it.
Can't.
Can't. Like we are underachievers. Other people could. We're a bunch of
Y'all
cants.
are a bunch of cants. Which, Australian.
Yeah, that's good, Ben. Nice job. We did it. So yeah, we have 8 minutes left. Let's talk about one of the GudeLaurance pieces.
Oh, I gotta pull
in
it
light
up.
of what we were doing.
Yeah.
And no, I don't remember the last one we talked about. It's like when I go to Subway and I say what kind of bread I want, the first thing.
When you say what kind of bread you want, the first thing?
Yeah. 6-inch white, because I know that's what they're going to start out doing.
Oh, I see. I usually, it's funny. I've lived in my apartment for about a year and a half now. There's a Subway across the street. I've yet to go to it.
Well, then, since they stopped doing the U-cut, I don't know if I really belong to the Subway family anymore.
So the last thing we did was called the debate show, where you and I debated the U.S. space program.
Oh yeah, that's right. Whitey on the Moon.
Whitey on the Moon. That was on August 5th, 2005. Our next performance was September 2nd, 2005.
Hey, we're keeping up.
And this was right after I got back from a trip to China with my grandfather.
Oh, wow. It was that long ago.
And this was called A Star-Rated Toilet. And the synopsis is, Ben provides a summary of his recent visit to China, while Paul eats a random selection of exotic foods from Wajimaya.
Ah, nice.
So, yeah, I just gave a slideshow, and then every so often, you would eat something.
Did I purchase that stuff myself, or did you purchase?
I think I went and bought it. I think
Yeah.
you were like, find me the weirdest things you can. So I tried to do that.
So I think I mentioned it. There are a couple of places like Wajimaya out here. Wajimaya is a chain store. There aren't chain stores out here, but there's like, at least I don't think they are. But like Seafood City is one of them. There's a place across the street that's even better. It's more tightly packed. But anyway, at Seafood City, I bought Mr. Squid.
Mr. Squid.
It's a light packaging. It's dried squid. And I decided I don't like it. Dried squid, not a fan.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if I'd like dried cuttlefish or not either, but it's a snack. A little bit too much squiddy for me. It tastes a little bit too.
How
too
about regular squid, like in soups or stuff? Do you like that?
I don't know.
It's it's real rubbery, It's
so I like octopus.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I like squid. And octopus is very rubbery. Or pretty rubbery, I should say. My friend Jenny Kim brought octopus to our biology class so we could try it. I ended up eating most of it. There's like a chili sauce that she had with it that made it just
It's all about the sauces. I had a friend come back from Australia and brought with him kangaroo jerky, which
Huh.
I didn't even realize that you were allowed to eat kangaroo.
I don't know how I'd feel about it. Kangaroo are kind of like deer, I suppose. But to me, the because they can punch you,
But
they seem more like
they're
bipeds.
they are jerks though. I hear that kangaroo can be pretty mean. Um
Yeah.
but it's
He's
like
got the money and he's not giving it back.
the national symbol of Australia. I mean, kangaroo is on their airplanes and just
And on their menus, apparently.
and on their menus. It's like somebody going to back home to Australia from the United States and bringing with them bald eagle jerky.
Hey, hold on. All right, Ben. Here's a question for you, right?
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
land of freedom,
Home of the brave.
home of the brave, lots of times runs smack dab into nationalism in a weird way.
Yeah.
People who believe in freedom above all else, Ben, would they eat bald eagle jerky? I don't think so.
I want to say that there's a subset of people who would eat it if they shot the eagle themselves.
I think this is, and I think you have a very, this is the problem when people think of, you know, the right of the United States. I think that there are two camps. There are the hell yes, I should be able to eat raw 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 eagle jerky. How would that even bald eagle jerky? And the other people who say no, that's a symbol of America. I will fight you to the death if you try to eat it in
Right.
front of me.
While wearing the U.S. flag as a pair of cargo shorts.
And the problem, I think that's the problem, is that folks will lump those two groups into the same thing. That's one of the things that I always think about whenever they're like, you know, what if one half of the United States takes over? It'll bifurcate. There will all of a sudden be two other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I never thought I'd see a second U.S. Civil War in my lifetime, but it's looking more and more possible.
I don't know about, well,
There was, I saw,
I
there's
got into it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's a subreddit called The Right Can't Meme. And maybe you've seen it, but it just posts all these memes that are supposed to be politically conservative, but they're just, you know, they're bad. And one of them shows like a picture from like a BLM protest, and the caption is, one side wants a civil war, and then it shows like a hunting group, which is supposed to symbolize the right, and the caption says, but one side has all the guns. And it's under the right camp meme because it's not leftists who are promoting civil war.
Right. So, and I think that I mean, hey, they're saying that people want a civil war because they just keep on existing, no matter how often we tell them that it makes us frightened,
exactly,
or whatever. But this is the thing that I keep thinking about. I got into a kind of an argument with Betty on this because she was making that point. She said, I think you know, if there was going to be a civil war, that you know, the lines would be drawn kind of the same. I was like, no, because the thing is that, and this is how I explained it. And you know, she didn't like it, but at the time of the Civil War, I don't think that the United States had a huge military presence in the rest of the world. I don't think they had all the bases and aircraft carriers and all that. The United States government, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
Might go crazy, might have a civil war in the country itself. But there are military assets that people in the United States can't touch that are owned by the US government. that they could bring back home and enforce, whatever.
Well, it's and also when
Run
I
run sorry, go ahead.
finish your thought, then I'll go.
Oh, run a mission in the United States. Like
Yeah,
people are like, what if they knock out the grid? What if they do that? The United States military is used to going into places where there is no infrastructure and setting infrastructure up.
right.
Same thing can happen if towns end up fighting. And
when I say I thought there was going to be I didn't think there was going to be a civil war in my lifetime, but it's looking more and more likely. I don't think it's going to be like one half of the U.S. fighting the other half of the U.S. I think it's going to be a fringe group of gun owners going around starting stuff, just shooting people. Now, are these people also part of the military? Are they part of the police? That's going to be a problem because, the U.S. government is not going to allow this. But if the U.S. government wants this to happen, there's very little we could do.
yeah, I mean, well, it's sort of like when you're talking about bullies, right? In grade schools, Jennifer and I had mentioned this, that sometimes the teachers would let the bullies pick on the littler kids.
Yeah.
If because they might be able to do something that the teacher couldn't legally. I'm just, and I'm making this up, right? But if a kid keeps on picking his nose in class, right, and teacher says stop picking your nose, whatever, that's one thing. But if another kid draws a picture of them picking their nose and teases them mercilessly until they cry or whatever, the teacher can use that negative reinforcement and say, if you just stop doing that, he probably would, that sort of thing. Using the bullies as a sledgehammer.
Right.
Same sort of thing. I feel like what could definitely happen is the wrong politicians use patriots, quote unquote, to do some horrible things and then arrest them and prosecute them.
Right.
And then everybody's happy.
Yeah.
We can go back to what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's
so the Patriots may have lost the battle, but they won the war.
Well, no, they won the battle and think that they're going to win the war, and then at the very end, the large government says, "Yeah, you guys are bad. Also, we're putting you in jail. And hey, everybody, let's get back to paying taxes and doing
and hating Mexicans
or whatever." Yeah, exactly. That's right. Now that that's over, that's the other thing is that, I think that we can rightfully say that incidents of violent crime from extreme groups inside the United States have already happened and are still happening and continue to happen. So, it is possible that at some point in time, if something larger goes on, right?
Yeah.
Someone will go, really, this conflict started back in Ferguson when, or whatever. Like, history told by the winners, all that sort of stuff. Right. Is it going to be, told that, oh, there is civil unrest and homeowners with guns had to put the problems down, or is it going to be enough people got killed that there were people fighting back in the streets and blah, blah, blah. Probably both. And it'll be up to Mike Wallace to tell people what they should believe.
And hopefully we will never have to find out how that happens or if it happens.
And who knows, maybe it'll happen and we won't even know about it until way afterwards.
So it's way too late. until the
Yep.
smoke clears.
Hey, how come I don't have any water? Oh, funny thing about the reservoir.
Yeah.
I guess you didn't hear about it. But until then, Ben,
Until then, Paul.
I'm going to meet with you an hour a week and
Until the
relive our
man
glory days
says
and
we
talk
can.
about what the future is. Oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to say also, Jennifer and I, so I still don't know about the job thing. Now it sounds like I'm going to find out maybe in November.
Okay.
But Jennifer and I went out looking at other places to like maybe move
Really?
and stuff. And there are two houses that were out here that were $69,000. And if you could imagine, both of them had some issues.
I can imagine. Well, I mean, that's not a lot of money for a house out here. In fact, that's hardly enough for a car. But what's are these?
Also very.
But you're not
very
looking.
low.
You're not looking to buy a house, are you?
I don't think so. I mean, the only reason why we would is that the mortgage payment would be much lower than rent
True.
if we buy it when it's low. Of course, the United States is built on stolen land. So would we really be owning a house, or would we just be buying a loan from the bank?
Well, in that case, you have to look up on whose land you resides and pay rent to them.
Yeah. And the chances of me doing anything of that kind before November rolls around is slim to none.
Right.
We'll see. I'll let you know though. Both Jennifer and I would like to end up. We talk about it all the time. Would like to end up on the West Coast.
Yep.
But circumstances have to align in order for that to happen.
Right.
So,
well, if those circumstances align next week, we'll hear about it here on the GudeLaurance podcast.
Hey, thanks for bringing us home.